Welcome to Market Hour Live. I'm your host, Joseph Martin, and thank God it's Wednesday. So let me tell you what's going on. We are going to do this today. It's last minute, but I have to make sure I'm consistent with these live streams and bringing you this value and bringing you this information. So we did do our market recap live last night. Had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we made our way through it. I do have the spot pulled up, so I'll put this on the screen so everybody knows what I'm looking at. So we are going to make sure we do the market hour live at least once a week. I was feeling good today. The house was quiet, so this was a perfect day for me to go ahead and get this up to you guys. So we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. And we want to get this chat going. So put a YT in the chat if you are tuning in from YouTube, and put an FB in the chat if you're tuning in from Facebook. Here's the mission statement. While you guys are filling up the stream and the chat, we are building a community over here for people who want to take control of their financial situation by learning how to unlock the wealth building power of the stock market. So I'm going to have the SPY pulled up on the screen right now, and it looks like it is doing very well today. And I want to cover something that we discussed last night and go into a little bit more detail about it. I had to do some research. So when we talked about volume, I caught myself at the end of the stream and I realized that volume does not mean the same. It means the same thing, but it doesn't work the same way when it comes to technical analysis. When you're looking at the charts, volume is interpreted a totally different way. So let me explain the difference. Because the SPY is actually tracking the S&P 500 index, the volume doesn't affect the price the same way it would in a stock. So I'll explain. Let me give you a quick little analogy. A ETF, since it's tracking the index's performance, if the index goes up, then that ETF goes up. In this case of the SPY, because it's tracking the S&P 500 index. So whatever that index does, that's what the SPY does. So the volume of how people are trading doesn't affect the direction of the price movement. So some people don't actually know or understand what actually makes the price of a financial instrument. Now I'm saying financial instrument because it's not just stocks. So that's the broader term. But what makes the stock price go up? What makes a stock price or go down? What makes a stock price go up or down is the bid and the ask. That's what actually makes it go up and or down. So the seller is asking for a certain type of price. The ask is always higher than the bid unless they're equal. So like right now, if we're looking at, let me cut my little highlighted cursor on. I got to do laundry, guys. You know, normally I'd be in a hoodie or a t-shirt, but I got to do laundry. I'm behind with the laundry. So let's go over here and look at this. So let me point out what I'm looking at. Here is the bid and the ask. The 697 is, the market is open. So since it's open, it's going to be moving. But the bid is the buyer, and they're offering, they want to get the security, in this case, the SPY, at the cheapest price possible. So they're going to offer on the bid a lower price than the ask. The ask is the seller. So the seller is asking for a higher price than what the buyer is offering. So that's the bid and the ask. So the idea in the price movement is if the buyer agrees to the seller's term, then the price would go up because they're paying more, right? But if the seller agrees to the buyer's conditions, the price will go down. So that's what actually causes stock prices to go up or down. Was that trade sold on the bid, which was the offer, or the buyer trying to get it at a discount, or the seller selling that stock? In this case, we're not talking about the SPY. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. At a premium. So discount or premium. And that's what causes the price to go up or down on a stock. But because the SPY, this ETF, is tracking the S&P 500 index, it's tracking whatever movement is happening on that index. That's what's causing the price to go up and down, not the bid and the ask. So now you understand the disconnect. So because of that, the volume is interpreted a different way. So when we look at the volume on the SPY ETF, for example, like down here, let me take me off the screen so we can see it. And the market is open, so we have it. This number looks insane. So give me a second. I want to read over this because this doesn't look right. We are looking at the SPY. This is the previous. These numbers look insanely high. So I don't want to go by this. So I'm just going to use let me cut the floating data box on and we can look at the volume and see what's going on. So if I mouse over yesterday's candle, why is the volume showing so high on this? We are looking at the SPY. That's saying 302 million shares of this ETF was traded yesterday. Okay. So if this is the case, let's just focus on whatever it's saying. If that's the case, that's how many shares of this ETF was traded in that session. That's all that means. So when you see an increased volume or decreased volume on the SPY ETF and you see the price go up, it doesn't necessarily mean that the volume pushed the price up in this case, because the bid and the ask doesn't actually dictate the price on the SPY ETF. The index does. So you just know how many shares were traded within that range of whatever you're looking at. So in this case, now I know why this is so high. This is a week, guys. That's what threw me off. This is the week chart. So this is a 10-year. It's not saying it. Yes, this is a 10-year weekly chart. So if I zoom out, now I know why these candles were why the volume was so high. So I need to change this to a daily chart. Okay, now this makes a lot more sense. I'm like, why the heck is that volume that high? That is not how much the volume is in a day on the SPY. Now it's making sense. I was looking at the wrong time frame. So let's move this over. We need to cut those labels back on so we can see the volume. Okay, so now we can see that these numbers make a whole lot more sense. Let me take me off the screen so you can see it. These numbers make a whole lot more sense now. It ain't 302 million shares of this ETF traded in a day. That's what I was looking at. I'm like, no, that ain't true. They lying. They lying. That ain't true. That ain't true. That ain't true. I'm gonna have to get me a fan, guys. It's starting to warm up here in Michigan, and I'm starting to glow. I'm starting to glow. But yeah, I wanted to make sure we talked about this today. I actually was going to, and I don't have the right thing on the screen. Let's get this right. We need the market hour information on the screen. This is thank you for tuning in for the market recap live. We need to fix this. Here it is. This is what we need on the screen. And I didn't know why my button wasn't working. So yeah, guys, you're going to see me struggle a little bit here and there doing the market hour lives, because there's going to be a slightly different setup than what we do for the market recap lives at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, following training sessions. But I want to get more people involved with the community and grow the community by catching people at noon throughout the week, because some people don't even know that the market recap live even exists. But I wanted to put it later at night because my life is chaotic. Working from home, my kids, my wife, by that time, everybody's settled. And then this also helps my audience. They should be settled by that time. Even though they wind it down for the night, they should have been in shower, ate, et cetera, et cetera. And then you got the West Coast. So the West Coast has a earlier time frame. So that'd be like 10 o'clock for them. But on the East Coast, we looking at like 11. So you can tune in at night. The live stream is usually about an hour. And I'm going to do this market hour live at least once a week at noon. I'm not going to schedule it because who knows what can happen with my life during the day, with these kids being in 3 different schools, 3 different age ranges, something going here, something going on there, having to pick them up and all that other good stuff. So I need that flexibility. I don't want to schedule the market recap lives, the market hour lives, and I don't make it. I don't want to do that. We've been very consistent with the market recap lives at 11 p.m. because it's rare that something gets in the way of that. So let's get back to the volume. So I explained how the volume works. Let me take me off the screen real quick. I explained how the volume works with the ETF. The volume does not affect the price going up or down based off of the bid and the ask. That's the disconnect. There is no bid and ask influencing the direction of the price movement on an ETF. That's only on a stock, but not the SPY ETF. So we talked about the volume, the market is open, and it doesn't show the average volume on this label. So let me cut that on. I want to see what the average volume is. So if I go here, is it here? No, that's cutting it on and off. I'm looking at is it the settings right here? Yes. Okay. So now I look for average volume. See, it's not turned on. So now when I click OK, now I can glance at this and see, let's zoom back in, what the average volume is for the SPY. And since the market is open, the volume is going to be climbing. This is why this is active. And this is yesterday's volume. So this is yesterday's volume. This is the average volume they get in a day. So as the trading session progresses, this volume rank percentile number should increase. Let me put me back on the screen. We done with the volume with the SPY. And then I didn't have a SPY on the screen. We can put that on there. So I wanted to look at who the movers were during the market hour. So let's go over. Now, when I looked earlier, Hood was our biggest winner last night. And since they were, I already have a ticker for them in the stream deck. So let's put that on the screen. So they were our biggest winner last night when we did the market recap live. So we visited their website. We did a quick technical analysis. What else did we do with Hood last night? We talked about what they did. When we browsed over their website, we looked at the 4 key sections we usually look at, which is the home page, the about us, the careers for the employees, and the stock quote and tools that they offer on their website. So if you want to look at Robinhood and get some more details about it, you can check out the live stream we did last night. And we reviewed the earnings for Citigroup. So when I first looked at Robinhood getting ready to do this market hour live, they were at a 10% change. So they were up 10% on the day. And I'm noticing from the tools that I have and the tools that I use, it looks like the money is flowing over into the financial sector. So the energy sector had took off, went crazy, right? And during the time when energy was going nuts, the financial sector was taking a hit. So when I was looking at the rotation, I'm like, it looked like the financials is at a discount right now because everybody paying attention to the energy sector. So let me show you what I mean. Let me show you what I mean. Let me show you what I mean. I'm trying to figure out how I want to. I don't want you guys to see everything I got in my back office. That's what I'm over here contemplating. Like, what are you taking so long for? Let me go back to the monitor. Wait a minute. It's not putting me on the screen. That's why I'm not clicking the right button. Put the like and subscribe. Yep. All right. So y'all can look at me while I set this up because I think this tool is awesome. They used to have this tool. So Charles Schwab was purchased by, not Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade. TD Ameritrade was purchased or acquired by Charles Schwab. So TD Ameritrade originally owned this Thinkorswim platform. This was their award-winning platform. Like, they were known to have one of the best trading platforms, investing platforms in the business. Okay. So when they got acquired by Charles Schwab had something called something Streetwise or something. Their trading platform wasn't as good as the Thinkorswim platform. So they phased theirs out. It was called Smart Street or Streetwise. If you remember the name of it, put it down in the comments so people can see what it was. I'm not going to look it up. So I pulled my tool up, but I want to go out to I have it pulled up. Yeah, I have it pulled up. I just want to get to the right time frame I want you guys to see. Okay, I have it. So let me go ahead and pull this on the screen so you can see what I'm looking at. So I'm telling you about this tool, but you haven't seen it. So this is a tool I designed that helps me track the rotation of the sectors. So there's 11 sectors, and all those labels are at the top of the screen. And then from left to right, it tells you what time frame you're looking at. It starts with the time frame. So I'm gonna point at it. So this is over the course of 6 months, roughly 6 months, because you have holidays, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, it's focusing on getting as close to 6 months as possible. Here's the ticker symbol for the actual S&P 500 index. I don't have it on the SPY. I have it on the S&P 500 index, which is SPX. And here are the different 11 sectors. You have energy, materials, industrials, discretionary, consumer staples. So this is consumer discretionary, consumer staples, healthcare, financials, tech, information technology, communication services, utilities, and real estate. So those are the 11 sectors. Now, what I was looking at, you see this one right here, energy, it was up like 40-something%. At one point when I was looking at it, it was up like 40-something%. But I noticed this green line right here is financials. So you see how financials is down at the bottom, but energy is all the way up here. So everybody was focused on energy because energy was the mover at that time. But while energy was moving, the financial sector had opportunities where I felt like some of the companies in the financial sector were oversold, because with the anticipation of the interest rates coming down, because it seems like they're starting to cut interest rates. When interest rates get cut and credit becomes more available and people start buying houses and things like that, investors are thinking, the smart ones that's putting their thinking cap on, that's looking to try to get into opportunities before something happens, was kind of timing that move. If the interest rates are going to be cut and more people are going to start buying, who's going to benefit from that? Financial sector and real estate and financials. So with people anticipating the rate cuts, people were looking to put their money in finances, but they did it early. They did it early. Then financials took a beating. So if you look back here, you can see financials was up. It was up higher. But then over here, it just got beat down, beat down, beat down, beat down. I'm like, I believe there's some opportunities over in the financial sector. And I want to show you something. So this was the tool that I designed, that I use to look at the sector rotation. So let's go. Let me take me off the screen so I can go back to the other thing I want to show. Not take me off the screen, but take this tool off the screen. Here we go. So I'm going to take that tool off the screen and we're going to go back to Market Watch. So when I go over to Market Watch, we're going to look at Robinhood in more detail. So let me put them back on the screen. Hood, we already have them on the screen. I took them off. Let me put them back. Ooh, my eye itch. So excuse me for digging in my eye. At least I ain't digging in my nose, but my eyes bothering me. I'm glad I ain't got no contacts on. All right, so we're going to link this watch list to analyze. So when I click on analyze, because this is linked to the same number, when I click on hood, it's going to change on analyze. All right. So this is what I want to show you. What sector is hood in? Financials. They're in the financial sector. Now, everything in the financial sector, I'm not saying is going to benefit, but because it's in that sector, they have a saying that's called a rising tide lifts all boats. So companies that's similar are going to benefit from what's happening. For example, with the issue that was going on in the airports with TSA, the car rental industry started gaining more business because people didn't want to fly. Avis was going crazy. Their ticker symbol is CAR. They benefited from that. Well, there's another ticker that's in the car rental industry. That's a publicly traded company, and that is Hertz. So when Avis was going up, so was Hertz, because they're similar in the same industry, and they are in the industrial sector. So let me put in Avis. It's not Avis, it's CAR. Put in CAR. See how it says Avis Budget Group? So their ticker is actually CAR. So they're in the industrial sector, but you're thinking to yourself, industrials, what that mean? Or why industrials? That don't sound like transportation. Most transportation industries are inside the industrial sector. And I'm going to show you that right now, because this is something we covered last night in the market recap live, actually. So let me take this ticker off the screen because we're no longer looking at hood. We're looking at CAR. And since we're looking at CAR, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to go ahead and put the ticker symbol for them in my system, so it will be showing when we look at something else. It'll only take a moment. Let me do this. CAR, and put the company name here. So it's Avis Budget Group, INC. Okay, so I'll click that, hit this, and then it'll be on the screen so you guys can see it. Make sure I spelled everything right. CAR, Avis Budget Group Incorporated. Okay, so now we're looking at CAR. So if we go over to Market Watch, the Market Watch tab, and go down to the Visualize sub tab. Now that was something I had to look at too. So I'm gonna tell on myself in a second. And all right, so we go to Visualize. When we go to Visualize, we are looking at every company inside the S&P 500 index. And this is what they call a heat map. I'm going to take me off the screen so you can see it. So this is a heat map, and they have it broken down in the sector. So this is the information technology sector. This is the communication services, this consumer discretionary, healthcare, consumer staples. Hopefully you can see that. So you have the different sectors labeled. And just by glancing in it, it looks like the smallest sector is materials. If I'm not mistaken, it looks like it's materials, okay? But here are the 11 sectors. So we're going to narrow this down by using a customized watch list. So we're going to go back to quotes. And when we go to quotes, I can put me back on the screen so I can show you what I'm doing. And when we go up here to the S&P 500, we're going to go to a personal watch list. So I have a personal watch list I named temp, short for temporary. So this makes it real easy for me to find. I'm going to select that. You can't see it because I'm on the screen. Right here. I'll show you again. Here's the watch list, drop down menu, personal, and I named it temp. So you can see it. So I select that. And the only company I have on that watch list is a Cami, who was also our biggest loser last night on the Market Recap Live. So I'm gonna type in the ticker symbol CAR. That's the one we're looking at. So now that watch list only has CAR in it. So now when I go to visualize, I'm gonna go to personal. So here are my watch list choices. Go to personal, do the drop down, and I'm gonna go down to temp. And as you can see, that's the only one in there. Let me take me off the screen. Here's another situation where you can't see it. So I'm gonna hit this drop down and here's the sector. So it's in the industrials sector, cars inside the industrial sector. If I hit this drop down again, it's gonna give me the industry. So it's inside the ground transportation industry. If I hit it again, it's gonna give me the sub industry. So it's in passenger ground transportation. So what happens is when you go down that sequence, it becomes more specific. So industrials is the sector, ground transportation is the industry, and then passenger ground transportation is the sub industry. So last night when we did the Market Recap Live, I was having a brain fart and I'm like, I don't know which one of these is a sub. It's either this one or it's this one. Sub comes below the main one. Just like up here, here's the main tab, and then we go to quotes, which is a sub tab. So the sub comes second. I was having a brain fart last night. So let's take this back to the S&P 500 watch list. Put me back on the screen. So that's how you can check to see specifically what sector it's in, what industry it's in, and what sub industry it's in using the Think or Swim platform. And that's the trick that I use to narrow it down so you're not digging through a whole bunch of companies. So I'm gonna show you what that nightmare would look like because we got time. We got time. So if I click on visualize and we go to, we're gonna look for car inside the S&P 500 index. So here it is right here. So now these are all the companies that's inside the S&P 500 index, right? So we're gonna drop down menu and we know that it's in the industrial sector. So we're gonna click that to narrow it down. Now, as you do that, the heat map is gonna shrink down, and shrink down because you're getting more specific. I believe car is in the S&P 500 index. And just by glancing over it, this tool also gives you a quick overview of what's happening in industrials. So overall, industrials is down because I see more red than green, but Uber is up, Axon is up, Delta Airlines is up. So that's how you can use this tool if you want to just look at an industry real quick. So remember how we talked about financials? You see how it's more green than red? Boy, I'm giving y'all some game today. Ooh, I gotta put me on the screen. I'm giving y'all some game today. You see how quick that was just to look at that whole industry using the heat map? Color coded, elementary, red and green. So we can look at that industry and tell if it's down using this tool as a technique as well. So we go back to industrials because we want to track down car. I see CARR. Is the ticker symbol car? I thought it was only one R. That's a building product. So that has to be a different company. So I want to look this up right quick because I see a CARR. Yeah, that's different. Avis's car. But I don't know if they in the S&P 500. So let's check. So we're going to hit the industry and go down to the sub industry. So we're looking for ground transportation. I don't see it. So they're not in the S&P 500. But this is where we would go to find them. You see how we narrowed it all the way down? and all that came up was Uber. Now, here's the other thing. If you notice, who do they normally compare to Uber? Lyft. So now we're going to do a little homework. We're going to do a little research. We're going to do a little homework to use some of this time up. We already a half hour into the market hour. And let me put something on the screen. So just in case somebody pop in, they want to ask a question or something like that. Let me put that up on the screen. Put the Q&A up on the screen. Let me bring this over, guys. I'm working on something. I'm going to put the Q&A on the screen. So that way, if somebody pop in, want to ask a question, you can ask the questions in the chat. So I'm going to go to Yahoo. Now that I'm on Yahoo, I'm going to go to Yahoo Finance. And now I kind of got sidetracked and forgot what we were coming over here for. We were looking at, oh, I remember. So we were talking about Uber and saying how they normally compare Uber to Lyft. So I had seen something interesting like a year ago that they had Lyft in a sector that made no sense to me. Okay, it made absolutely no sense to me. So based off what you just learned or what we just reviewed, it should be in the industrial sector because it's dealing with transportation, right? We've seen where that is. So if we put in Uber and we pull them up using the Yahoo Finance website, we want to look for their competitors. We're looking for a section that gives companies that they compare Uber to, their competitors or their peers. So we're going to go to profile. I believe it's on profile and it's on analysis, but I'm going to go to profile because it's a lot of useful stuff, at least in my opinion, when it comes to going to the profile. You can find the company's website there, their address, and then they break down what we talk about right here. So it's in now see, here's something different. Now, when we look on Yahoo Finance, they have Uber in the technology sector. They don't have them in the industrial sector. And this is what I was going to say about Lyft. Because Uber is using the phone as their main app, like to actually navigate the transportation stuff, Uber isn't actually the one doing the driving. It's the app. And then they contract people to do the driving. So it's about the software. Uber is more of the software, the middleman. So some platforms classify Uber as a technology company versus a transportation company inside the industrial sector. So that's something that I felt like was very interesting that I had found out. So I was actually going to point this out to you on Lyft, but here we are. Yahoo Finance just proved my point by doing it already. So if we scroll down, here's a description of the company. And now I want to look for the peers. So on Yahoo Finance, they call it related tickers. They call it related tickers. Let me put the light back on the screen. Now, because of the industry they have it classified in, if you notice, these companies aren't dealing with transportation, so to speak. The related tickers are other software companies inside the same sector that they have it classified in. Notice you don't see Lyft up here. You see Shopify. Why? Because it's a software app. It's the middleman, like eBay or something. So let's go up here and type in Lyft and see what it says, because they don't even have them listed as a peer. So we're going to go to Lyft. Put me back on the screen for a minute. Y'all can look at me while we figure this out. Lyft is up to 1450. That look good. I like that. Okay. So we're going to go to profile. Here's their website, as we discussed before, the description. Make sure you guys can hear me. So we're looking for their related tickers. Now, ain't that funny? Now, when we go to Lyft, they have Uber listed as a related ticker, but on Uber, they don't even have Lyft listed. They do have them in the technology sector. They have way less full-time employees, way fewer employees than Uber does. I don't know if you guys even paid attention to that number, so I'm gonna pull it up so you can see it. Let's do it side by side. We can duplicate this. I should have just clicked duplicate, right? So we duplicate it. We go here, we type in Uber. So now we have two screens of it. We go to profile. And if I go here to employees, there it is. So now when I go here, I'm going to split this screen up. There's one. Now I need to find the, I don't even see it. Oh, I know why. It's not even giving it to me as an option because I have it in the same window. So let me do it this way. Does it give it to me as a second option now? Yes. So now when we do the side by side, look how many more full-time employees Uber has compared to Lyft. They have 34,000 compared, I'm rounding this off, to Lyft's 4,000. So that's another way to compare the size of the company. So but Uber has their hands in a lot more stuff than Lyft has right now. So Lyft is still focusing on the ride share thing. Uber's delivering food. They're delivering. They do more things with their transportation services than Lyft does. Lyft is just strictly focused, from the last time I checked, on the ride share. Ride share is just one service that Uber offers. So if we look to, now that I've done this, I don't see everything. So we go back profile. So we're looking at profile description. So we can see the areas that Uber, blow the screen up. Can I highlight this? Yes, I can. So that section is telling us the locations they operate in, right? So now I'm looking for the services. So here are the three services right here. They telling you three segments: mobility, delivery, and freight. And then they break that down to get more specific. So it's right here. That's the section that describes that. So that's the mobility and transportation part, right? So now this section talks about the things they deliver for you, or they deliver. So this would be the delivery. They're breaking down each one, guys. I love how we're reviewing this today on the Market Hour Live. And then this section talks about the freight things. So they're giving you more details about what each segment does. Now that we've seen that with Uber, now we're going to look at Lyft and see how many different things they do or what they focus on as a company. I'm gonna blow this up. Where we at? No comment. Got the thing going on. All right. So now when we go to description, it's right here. See, they talk about the platform. That's the key part right there that has them in the information technology sector. Platform and mobile-based applications. And look at how they describe where they operate. This is really vague. This basically means in the United States and outside the United States. But remember, when we looked at Uber, it listed all the specific places. I don't even think they used the word internationally. You see that? So this is only one service that I'm seeing. When we looked at Uber, it was three different services they provided, and then they went into way more details about what that consisted of. So that explains why they have a broader customer base, because they have more services that they offer. Even though Uber and Lyft are usually compared as peers, because they both do ride share. Uber does way more than Lyft does right now. And they just saying the same thing over and over again. You see this? They said ride sharing drivers and rides like 3 different ways. It's not really different, so to speak. It's just more details about the same thing said a different way, just restructuring the sentence. I don't know if they did that just to make the paragraph long or what, but basically they offer ride share. that's what they do. And let's look at them on the charts. Let's go to Thinkorswim. Let's put this on the thing. We all over the place. It's okay. I like the freedom of just moving around. We looked at Hood last night. You want to look at Hood? Go ahead and look at Hood at the live stream we did last night. So we're gonna go to the charts and we're gonna look at Lyft. Oh my goodness. See what I mean? I'm bouncing around. Let me cut this floating data box off. So remember how I was talking about the situation with the TSA? And we're looking at a weekly chart. Look at how car took off in the last 4 weeks. So the last time we reviewed it, that's where this white line came from. It went up even more since then. So this stock then went up from the week of February. So February 23rd, this stock has went from a low of, let me put this on the screen. Let me take that tool off. I'm gonna use this tool over here. And I'm gonna zoom in too. So I'm going to snap that to the low and snap this to the high of that week right there. So this is actually this week. And we're in Wednesday of this week. Yes, today is Wednesday. So in February, the week of February 23rd, Avis was trading. Avis ticker car, was trading for less than $90 a share. And since then, in a matter of 49 days, 49 days, that stock has went up 383% from that low to that high. This is another example of the opportunities that lie in the stock market that are actually there, and people do not know about them and do not see them because they don't look at the charts. And most of the time, people are always talking about playing it safe and diversifying in an index. And that blows my mind, because then when I started looking it up, I found out you can't invest in an index. The index just tracks the market. You have to invest in an ETF if you want to mimic the actual performance of an index. That's why we look at the SPY. So I'll give you my take on it about why I don't like diversifying in something that broadens things out. Remember how we just looked at the sectors? So when one sector is doing well and the other sector is doing bad, what's happening is the losses from this one is eating up the gains of that one. So it's kind of like you just stay even all the time. Versus if you actually educate yourself and start learning more about how the market actually works, you can diversify a different way. Like investing in a specific sector that you feel is doing well versus a specific company, because you started to understand how sector rotation works. Like, okay, this sector is beat down right now. Why is it beat down? Because of certain things that's happened globally or in the economy and things of that nature. You start educating yourself and learning about it. Now, instead of investing in a specific financials company like we looked at earlier with Hood, you could look at investing in the financial sector in an ETF that tracks the financial sector, because You did some analysis and research on your own and figured, hey, this may be an opportunity for me. You decided that from using your own education and discernment and choices. So that's what I see when I look at this. I like the opportunities that exist investing in sound companies and in sectors that's performing well. I like those opportunities more than just investing in the SPY myself. That's my personal choice and opinion. So yeah, it went up 383% in a matter of 49 days. Oh man. So let's pull up this calculator and show you a visual. That's not the right button. I'm glad that didn't pop up over on the other screen. So let me get this right. Here's the calculator. So if someone had invested $1,000 and we use that percentage return we seen, so it was 383%. Yes, if we did this as a decimal, let's start doing it as a percentage and see if it comes out right. So we just do times 383 and then hit the percentage. See, it turns it into a decimal anyway, but that's the decimal version of it, 3.83. That $1,000 investment, the ROI from it, which is return on investment, would have been $3,830. The initial investment is called the principal, the $1,000. So if we add that back to it, because the investor didn't lose that, the ROI grows on top of it. So if we add the $1,000 back to it, now that investor would have $4,830 starting with a $1,000 investment. At this opportunity, with this opportunity, if they caught it at the exact bottom and sold it at the exact top. Now, here's the argument most people come with. You can't time the market, so you'll never be able to get it perfect. You know what? You absolutely right. So how about we just look at catching some of the move, right? So if we look at some of the move, here's some of the move here. So some of the move I already have on the chart, right? So if somebody had caught it down here, they had how many weeks to get it at that price? 1 week, 2 weeks. This is a weekly chart, right? Yep. So they had a whole month to get it lower than this price level at $107.28. They had a whole month to purchase their stock for less than $100, than $107.28. That's what I'm looking at, a whole month, right? And if they sold it here, so they missed all this up here, they just got out here, they still would have had 102% gain. So that's not timing the market perfectly at all, but it still presented 100% return in 15 days. So now we got to look at the fact that this is less days now. So this is 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, there was an opportunity to double your money. So if someone had invested $1,000, we go back to the $1,000 example, and they got the 102% return, they would have earned, I would think that's $1,020, but we'll just do it 1,000 times 102, hit the percent, turn it to a decimal, $1,020. That would have been their ROI, and their initial principal investment of $1,000, it would have grown to $2,020 in a little over 2 weeks, doubled their money. But you have to be able to look at the stocks. Like, just take time to look at the charts, educate yourself, and learn how to recognize the opportunity. And I have a bunch of videos on this where I talk about things in the stock market. Look at this. This is crazy. This is crazy. So now we're looking at this is not the right chart. Here's a daily chart, and the labels are missing on the volume. So let me adjust some of this and cut those back on. What time we got? We got 8 minutes, guys. And we didn't even look at Hood. And I told you we didn't look at Hood because we looked at them last night. And I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do this thing. But I said we're going to do the market hour live at least once a week. And I feel real good that we got this done. This is some new content for the channel. So I wanted to cut the labels back on. and the average is not on. So we can see how to do that. Go here, go to the average option, cut that on, click OK, apply OK. So now my average is on. So now I can see the average volume for a car. So that's something else that's interesting. I'm gonna go into my tools to find some more stuff. So like if we look right here, this in particular day was 4/8. So not March, that's April 8th. So on April 8th, the volume was 6.6 million. And if you're trying to figure out, man, where is he reading that at? Since I don't have a floating data box up, it's right here next to where it says volume. You see how the number's changing? That's because the crosshair is touching a different candle. So when I get over the candle I'm focused on, let me zoom in. I'm looking at this tallest volume bar right here. This is what I'm looking at. When I mouse over it, now that area I pointed at is saying 6.6 million shares of that company was traded just that day. And even if we look at the volume for today, it's using the previous day volume when we look at the volume rank percentile. Because today is moving, the market is open, it's not giving the volume rank percentile for today because the market is still open. I didn't slid all the way out the camera. That's the volume rank percentile is based off the previous day. So yesterday, the volume rank percentile was 99.2%. So it was saying that only 2 days out of the most recent 252 trading days had higher volume than yesterday did. And then we still got to see what happens today. But that stock went all the way up to $415. And for a whole month, you could have got it for less than $107.28. That's crazy. All right, so I'm gonna just check. I'm gonna pull the watch list up so you guys can look at that while I get my prompter set up. Wait a minute, guys. Did something happen? Wasn't Hood number one? Hood is no longer number one. It's starting to pull back. Now we still do have, it's going on 1 o'clock. We still have 3 hours left in the trading session today, and we are in the middle of the week. So we have 2 more trading sessions, including the 3 hours we have left today from 1 to 4, and 2 whole trading sessions left for Thursday and Friday before we close our weekly candle. And remember, each candle adds another piece to the puzzle. And remember, the candles look the same. You have to know the time frames you're looking at. So I have to throw this out here, okay? I have to. That's something that I struggled with when I used to look at trading videos on YouTube. A lot of the people that I saw, even the very popular ones that show you candles, they don't tell you the time frames they're looking at. They either have it cropped out of the screen, or yes, usually it's cropped out. So even if it was cropped out, now the thing would be that you would have to mention it because the candles look the same. If I don't know what time frame, like how you saw me earlier when I was looking at the volume and I was like, this volume is way too high. The candles look exactly the same. If I don't know what time frame I'm looking at, I have no idea what these candles mean. I have no idea. So this is a daily chart. But if you didn't know that, I'm going to change it to a weekly. This is a weekly chart. It's candles. It look exactly the same. They look exactly the same. Here's a daily. It's more candles, but they look the same. For all you know, those could be weekly candles. So now here is a minute chart. It looks like candles. But sometimes traders have this set to 5 minutes. So let me go to a time frame. So if I go to intraday, this means a single day. And then I'm going to put it on 5 minutes. See this? So how do you know the difference between a minute or 15 minutes or 5 minutes and I don't tell you what time frame I'm on? And a lot of traders on YouTube do this. They don't tell you what time frame they're looking at. And I don't know if they do it on purpose or they don't know how to read the charts themselves, and they try to fool people by making it look like they know more than you do. All I have to do is convince you that I know more than you know, and you'll buy into whatever I'm selling. Either they're using that strategy or I don't know. Maybe they holding it behind a paywall, like they sell a course, so they don't give you that information. But that's a very important key part of looking at a chart, is knowing what time frame you're looking at. So if you go and you're trying to get free information off of the web, off of YouTube, and trying to learn how to trade and not really invest in buying no books, no courses, you don't know what's missing. That's the same reason why I stress the fact that if you only trade from your phone, you don't know about all these other features on a full trading platform, because you only trading from your phone. But it's very important for you to know what time frame you're looking at before you sit up there and you try to figure out patterns. Like, oh, I seen this pattern on them. The patterns mean less on a smaller time frame. So that's another thing that they don't tell you. Just because you see a pattern on a chart, since candles can go on any time frame, it's less likely for that pattern to mean anything the shorter the time frame you put it on. Patterns are more likely to play out on larger time frames, and they don't tell you that. I paid thousands of dollars for courses and books, and I had to like find the right information. I wish I had a mentor or something. That would have saved a lot of time versus digging for all this information myself. But I'm going to do my best to share everything I can with you guys to try to stop you from falling into these traps that cost me thousands and thousands of dollars over the years before I found some type of understanding to where now I'm starting to get better with managing trades, finding opportunities, knowing what I'm looking at. And I'll share with you all of the resources that I've used. And I'm open to the questions whenever you guys start feeling comfortable enough to ask. So let me get my closing together, because I didn't really plan that part, because I was running late and I wanted to make sure that I got this up. So I'm gonna wing some of this. I'm gonna wing some of it, but we gonna get it. We gonna get it. You already know. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you earned something. Thank you for joining me for the Market Hour Live. Make sure that you subscribe and you like. We're not scheduling Market Hour Lives, but we're going to do our best to make sure we do it once a week. If you haven't done so already, make sure you check out the whole life insurance link I have down in the description. And make sure you tune in tonight. We have a market recap live going on tonight. Let me check to see what company we are going to cover. I believe we are going to cover Netflix tonight. No, tonight we're covering Bank of America. We're covering Netflix on the 16th. So we're covering Bank of America earnings tonight for the Market Recap Live. So make sure you tune in tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And make sure you tune in weekdays following the market trading session at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So take care and God bless. That didn't even work right. I had muted it and set everything up. I'm looking like I'm blind. Listen, let's try this one more time. Take care and God bless.